Welcome to the Past in Pictures channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The Chernobyl control room, recorded in 1986, was the setting of the most severe civilian nuclear accident in history due to the collapse of reactor number 4, an event that deeply shaped global views on nuclear safety and brought major environmental and social impacts. Passengers of Flight 571 faced one of the most emblematic survival stories of the 20th century when their aircraft crashed in the Andes Mountains, leaving them isolated for 2 months and, with no alternatives, forcing them into extreme measures to stay alive, a story that spread worldwide and still influences ethical debates today. As British soldiers arrived in London in 1940, thousands of children were evacuated from the city to escape Blitz air raids, part of a government strategy to protect civilians during World War II and one of the largest child evacuation efforts in United Kingdom history. Soldiers of the 1st Ukrainian Front of the Red Army moved through Kyiv soon after the city's liberation in November 1943, a decisive World War II milestone that weakened German control in Eastern Europe and propelled the Soviet advance across the region. Rural families such as farmers and their children faced severe hardship during the 1936 dust storm at the height of the Dust Bowl in the United States, a landmark of mass migration and a push for federal farm relief policies during the Great Depression. North Korean fighters moving with tanks through the streets of Seoul illustrate a crucial episode of the Korean War, a conflict that began in 1950 and permanently split the peninsula into 2 countries, cementing the separation of the Koreas and tensions that continue to this day. Richard Nixon visits American troops in South Vietnam on July 30, 1969, a milestone that underscores United States involvement in the Vietnam War and reflects his administration's search for gradual drawdown strategies and political support in the eyes of the public. Agents inspect a wooden truck suspected of illegal alcohol transport, a common scene in the United States in 1926 during Prohibition. Government enforcement aimed to curb hidden production and distribution, strengthening illegal networks and deeply shaping American society. 2 illegal alcohol producers were detained by federal agents near St. Paul, Minnesota in 1921, reflecting the strictness of prohibition in the United States, whose enforcement fueled underground trade and challenged local and federal authorities. Al Capone appears with family members in front of a place labeled Pool Parlor in 1917, a period marked by the strengthening of illegal networks in the United States, a context that later cemented his notoriety during Prohibition and increased his influence in Chicago. Protests opposing racial integration marked the southern United States in the mid-1950s, especially after the Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Board of Education, which in 1954 ruled to end school segregation and triggered a broad conservative backlash. Women taking industrial jobs on production lines during World War I represent a major shift in women's role in society. Because while cleaning war equipment such as 15-inch guns at Coventry Ordnance Works, they provided vital support to the war effort. Thousands of women took on vital roles on the home front and in the armed forces during World War II, breaking gender barriers as the conflict demanded full participation from society, and their performance permanently changed women's presence in military service across different countries. Soldiers wearing kilts gathered outdoors in 1915 point to the tradition of Scottish regiments during World War I, when these units were known for bravery at the front, symbolizing Scottish national pride and a decisive contribution to the Allied effort. A Napoleonic army soldier represents the conclusion of the Napoleonic Wars in 1815, when Napoleon Bonaparte suffered his final defeat at Waterloo, ending his imperial ambition and reshaping Europe's political map, influencing future generations. The Klondike Gold Rush drew thousands of people to Alaska in 1898, where many endured severe hardship on hostile trails in search of fortune, an episode that marked not only North American westward expansion, but also difficult journeys and stories of personal endurance. The group known as the Lincoln County Regulators operated in Chavez County in 1878 during the Lincoln County War, a New Mexico conflict driven by economic disputes and rivalries among merchants that left a deep mark on American Old West history. In Berlin in 1925, Dr. Heinz takes part in one of many experimental medical attempts of the time to stop aging, applying substances taken from a hair to a patient, a practice that reflects the contested pursuit of rejuvenation in the interwar period. Practices such as tooth filing and facial scarification were traditional among some Central African peoples, such as the Bopoto, symbolizing status, beauty, or tribal belonging, while also marking rites of passage and cultural identity in the face of colonial influence. Taking self-portraits in daring situations was already notable at Lookout Mountain in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1917, when two men pushed past fear to capture a keepsake, reflecting the adventurous spirit of the early 20th century and fascination with new photographic technology. Corporal Randall Sprenger finishes the final details on the B-29 superfortress named Little Gem on Saipan in 1944 during World War II, reinforcing the importance of the Mariana Islands as a strategic base for United States air operations against Japan. Troops from South Africa, Australia, and Great Britain attended the Western Desert School of Cookery in Egypt in 1941 during World War II, strengthening Allied integration and readiness for the North Africa Campaign, a critical front against the Axis. American soldiers speak with a member of the Swiss Guard in 1944, in the final phase of World War II, as Allied forces advanced through Europe and cities like Rome saw their neutrality and security tested, underscoring the conflict's diplomatic and military complexity. Tsar Nicholas II took office in one of the most notable events of Imperial Russia, drawing crowds in Moscow in 1896 with the monumental Tsar Bell in the background. The start of his reign symbolized deep changes that decades later culminated in the fall of the Russian monarchy. Soviet soldiers gathered for a group photo to celebrate the overthrow of the provisional government on November 7, 1917, a milestone that symbolizes the victory of the October Revolution, an event that established the communist regime in Russia and deeply changed the global political landscape. Giza in 1917 was under British rule during World War I, when Egypt served as a strategic base for regional operations. Daily life around oases near the pyramids showed local resilience amid the tensions of that period. Women volunteers of the Irish Republican Army take part in training in Northern Ireland in 1977, reflecting women's active involvement during the period known as the Troubles, a time marked by tensions between Republicans and Unionists that reshaped the local political and social landscape. Adidas emerges in 1949 after the split between the Dassler brothers, who transformed German and global sports with footwear innovations. The brand's founding created lasting impacts on the sports industry and set new standards in equipment technology. Photographers and assistants played a key role in recording the vastness of the Grand Canyon in 1908, a time when the region gained international attention, boosting tourism and contributing to its designation as a national monument in 1908, a decisive milestone for protecting the area. Workers took part in building the Empire State Building in New York, which became a symbol of urban modernization in the United States in 1930, marking a new era for skyscrapers and highlighting the rapid rise of vertical city growth in major American cities. The Thames Tunnel, built between 1825 and 1843, marked a fundamental engineering breakthrough as the first known tunnel under a navigable river in the world, enabling London's urban expansion and influencing underground construction methods in major 19th century cities. The arrival of the Statue of Liberty's parts made 1885 a key year for Franco-American relations, since the monument gifted by France symbolized friendship between the nations and ideals of liberty, preparing to become a historic landmark in New York. Workers begin carving the faces of 4 United States presidents at Mount Rushmore in 1927, a project that would symbolize patriotism and national unity, and later make the site a major historic and tourist landmark after completion years later. The Concorde, a signature aircraft of the supersonic era, flies over Sydney Harbour in 1972, showing advances in civil aviation technology and signaling the start of worldwide expectations for faster commercial flights, which later shaped air travel development. Pan American World Airways strengthened its position as a commercial aviation pioneer between 1938 and 1941 by offering comfort and innovation, marking the wider reach of air travel during a period of major technological advances and influencing global standards for transportation and connectivity. The introduction of business class on Lufthansa flights in 1926 marked a major advance in commercial aviation, reflecting growing passenger interest in comfort and onboard safety, clearly shown in the instructions posted on the door of the Fokker-Grulich F-2 flown by the company. United Airlines flight attendants in 1951 followed strict personal appearance rules, highlighting women's role in aviation and social expectations about women's looks after World War II, reflecting the hierarchical and disciplined structure of commercial air travel at the time. Dr. Elizabeth Broyne, an American medical pioneer, appears seated on the back of a horse-drawn ambulance in 1911, before motor ambulances became common, highlighting women's efforts in advancing health and emergency services in the United States. The year 1916 saw women trying new forms of mobility amid the social changes caused by World War I, and the early use of scooters reflects technological advances that enabled greater independence and women's access to urban space. 2 young people spending time in Central Park around the 1870s illustrate the effects of urbanization in New York, a moment marked by the creation of large public parks as a response to growing population density and the need for green spaces accessible to city residents. Skaters crowd Central Park in New York in the winter of 1890, showing how outdoor recreation became a prominent part of American city life after the Industrial Revolution, reflecting social change and the creation of public spaces for healthy group activities. The steady flow of cars fueling at Gulf stations in Miami Beach reflects the growing popularity of the automobile in the United States in the late 1930s, a period when rising urban mobility helped drive the rapid growth of American cities. Heavy traffic seen in Rome, Italy in 1959 reflects urban growth and the strong post-World War II rise in motorization in the country, a trend that changed daily life in major European cities and highlighted the era's economic and social progress. Austin, Nevada emerged in 1868 as a typical boom mining town during the American West Silver Rush, reflecting how the economic expansion of mineral cycles shaped settlement and regional development in the decades that followed. Cerro Gordo became one of California's most important mining centers in the 1870s, driving regional development through silver extraction and leading to the rapid growth of hillside settlements, which influenced the economy and settlement of the western United States. Cowboys roping and swapping horses near the Cheyenne River reflect the growth of Old West culture in the late 19th century, when these practices were essential to prairie life during United States expansion after the railroads arrived. The large roundups of the American prairies involved cowboys gathering cattle for branding or transport, a typical Western activity between 1887 and 1892, a period that cemented the cowboy image and the growth of the ranching economy in the United States, marking westward expansion. In rural Texas, the one-room schoolhouse was essential for bringing basic education to small communities in 1907, marking the broader effort to expand public schooling in the United States and helping reduce illiteracy and strengthen social integration locally. A mother teaches reading to her children in Transylvania, Louisiana, a common act during the Great Depression, when the economic crisis forced many rural families to depend on learning at home, highlighting limited access to schooling in that part of the southern United States. A plentiful grape harvest in Burbank, California, in 1930 reflected the strength of regional agriculture, even amid the Great Depression's economic hardship, marking a rare moment of prosperity and offering hope to local inland communities in the United States. Automats revolutionized how New Yorkers bought quick meals, offering items like pies through automatic display cases at the height of their popularity in 1936, reflecting urban change and the search for convenience during the Great Depression in the United States. In the late 1930s, the streets of Times Square, a symbol of New York energy, often hosted large crowds drawn by innovative advertising, such as the two trouser suits promotion, reflecting the rise of affordable fashion consumption during the Great Depression. The rise in television sales in 1965 reflects television becoming a central part of family life and mass consumption, showing both technological progress and the cultural impact of electronic media in homes during the post-war period and the 1960s. The arrival of the Cadillac Model A in 1903 marked a key advance in the early automobile industry, as families began adopting the car as a symbol of innovation and comfort, showing a transportation shift and influencing social habits in the early 20th century. The Oldsmobile Incas was a futuristic concept developed in 1986, highlighting the decade's automotive technology advances, such as the digital instrument panel, and symbolizing a push for innovation in design and driving experience. Dinosaur models gained worldwide attention during the 1980s when institutions like the Boston Museum of Science sought to refresh exhibits, drawing large audiences to science topics and helping popularize paleontology among children and adults. A procession of computers in East Germany in 1987 reflects state pride and technological advances during the Cold War, a time when the technology race symbolized international prestige and influence over the public and the communist bloc. Soviet youth gathered in Leningrad challenged traditional cultural norms by adopting punk style, a symbol of protest that emerged in the West. This phenomenon, already in the late 1980s, signaled the social opening associated with the perestroika period. Mike Tyson, already recognized as the heavyweight world champion in 1987, appears playing his own video game in a context that marked the early influence of sports celebrities on pop culture, leading to the popularity of game series bearing famous athletes' names. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson shaped basketball history by leading one of the greatest sports rivalries of the 1980s, facing each other in the National Basketball Association Finals 3 times, with the Los Angeles Lakers defeating the Boston Celtics and cementing an era of intense competition that raised the league's worldwide popularity. Dutch soldiers in formation welcomed Finnish President Kekkonen during a state visit in 1972, reflecting the diplomatic importance of bilateral meetings during the Cold War, when European countries sought to strengthen political and economic ties across the region. In Stockholm, a 1970s scene shows a girl teasing a royal guard while enjoying an ice cream, illustrating the contrast between strict Swedish royal protocol and the relaxed mood typical of that decade in Western Europe after social and cultural change. Niagara Falls was left completely without water in 1969, when American engineers stopped the Niagara River's flow to study and strengthen the riverbed rock, aiming to preserve this major natural landmark and ensure safety for tourists and nearby communities. Sigourney Weaver takes part in tests with a flamethrower during the production of the film Alien in 1978, a landmark moment for science fiction cinema because the movie revolutionized the genre by combining suspense and technology, influencing generations of filmmakers and audiences. Linda Carter, made famous as Wonder Woman in the 1970s, led a standout era of television by portraying the DC Comics hero in a worldwide hit series, fueling discussions about women's representation and expanding the role of female superheroes in popular media. Linda Miller appears behind the scenes of the filming of King Kong Escapes, beside the King Kong figure in 1967, when Japanese cinema invested in popular monster productions, reflecting cultural exchange and King Kong's global appeal in the decades that followed. George Harrison, a former member of the Beatles, and Stevie Nicks, the lead singer of Fleetwood Mac, meet in 1978, a year marked by the success of the album Rumours and the consolidation of rock as a global cultural force, reflecting exchanges among major music figures. The four Beatles, gathered in 1969 for their last official photograph, symbolized the close of an era in world music, since only months later the group would announce its breakup and leave a lasting legacy in pop culture and international rock. Charlie Chaplin, an icon of silent film, and Anna Pavlova, a legendary Russian ballerina, appeared together in 1922, a period when both art forms were gaining worldwide recognition. This symbolic meeting shows culture's unifying influence in the early decades of the 20th century. Jane Mansfield, an icon of American cinema, appears next to the Miss Hollywood title winner in 1957, highlighting an era when beauty contests symbolized glamour and aimed to launch young women into stardom at the peak of Hollywood's film industry. Lynn Frederick gained prominence in British and international cinema throughout the 1970s, the period when she married the famous comedian Peter Sellers, a fact that increased her media visibility and shows how celebrities strongly influenced pop culture in that era. Betty Brosmer became a major pin-up icon of the 1950s, a period marked by the peak of that photo style in the United States, reinforcing women's beauty and glamour standards after World War II and influencing fashion, advertising, and pop culture of the era. Bunny Yeager, an icon of American photography and modeling, stood out by working as both photographer and model in the 1950s, reshaping how women were portrayed and influencing pop culture imagery while marking advances in women's creative independence after the war. A model displays an outfit created by Jacques Fath beside a Delahaye automobile with the Eiffel Tower in the background, highlighting the rebirth of Parisian elegance after World War II in 1947, when French haute couture regained a central role on the global fashion stage. Meg Miles stood out as an actress in the 1950s, an era marked by Hollywood's rise and the consolidation of film as the leading popular entertainment in the United States, a setting where stars like her influenced fashion, behavior, and beauty standards worldwide. Elizabeth Bowes Lyon appears beside an enormous vase in the gardens of Buckingham Palace in 1939. A crucial year in British history because World War II began, a time when she would become a symbol of resilience and national unity. Bill Mazeroski achieved a unique feat on October 13, 1960, by securing the Pittsburgh Pirates World Series victory with the only walk-off home run in a Game 7 ever recorded in Major League Baseball history, cementing his name in that moment as a legendary milestone in American baseball. Wearing traditional early 20th century clothing, a Serbian woman represents cultural pride that endured through political changes marked by the decline of the Ottoman Empire and the growing search for Serbian national identity before World War I. The Cairo area, known as the Tomb of the Mamluks, reflects the influence of these former military rulers, whose rule in the region was decisive from the 13th century to the early 16th, preserving monumental architecture that helped position Egypt as a cultural center of the Islamic world. Katz's Delicatessen, established in 1888 on Houston Street, became a food landmark on Manhattan's Lower East Side and a symbol of Jewish immigration in New York, especially by 1975, when its tradition was recognized across the city. Charles S. L. Baker, accompanied by his assistant, presents a heating radiator system in 1906, contributing to the modernization of home comfort in the early 20th century, when the spread of new technologies significantly changed city life and everyday routines in the West. Students in Pleasanton, Texas, gathered in 1957, represent early steps after a community decision to desegregate public schools, following the national impact of the Brown versus Board of Education case, a major advance in the civil rights struggle in the southern United States. Recorded on a clay tablet dated to 1750 before Christ, the first known human complaint refers to the wrong delivery of copper in ancient Mesopotamia, showing that commerce already required records and dispute resolution, a foundational milestone in the history of business transactions. Women working with spinning wheels, as seen in County Galway around 1890, ensured home production of thread essential to Ireland's rural economy, a tradition that endured even after the Industrial Revolution transformed textile methods across Europe. Leslie Jones recorded heavy activity at the corner of Washington Street and Bromfield Street in Boston at a time when the United States was facing the Great Depression, a crisis that changed the urban landscape and deeply shaped the economic and social rhythm of cities. Workers and horses played an active role in building the East Boston subway tunnel in 1900, combining emerging technology and animal power to advance urban transportation, a milestone that helped drive Boston's modernization and expansion in the industrial era. Couples like those who spent time at Muscle Beach in Santa Monica in the 1940s helped turn the spot into a symbol of physical culture on United States beaches, fueling the fitness movement that would reshape leisure and social behavior nationwide.